Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and another video. If you are new here, my name is Jessica. I am a lifestyle creator living and working in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I write and make videos about life in my 30s, beauty, wellness, self-care, books and reading, and more. If you couldn't already tell by the title of this video, this week's video is going to be a very huge birthday book haul. I have 25 books that I bought for myself for my birthday throughout the month of August, and that is absolutely bonkers, you guys. A couple of months ago, I bought 9 books while I was on vacation, and I thought that was bonkers. No, 25 books in 1 month is bonkers. Like, what the heck is going on here? So here's how we're gonna move through all of the books that I have here today. I'm gonna start with the pile of books that I bought, read, or am reading currently. Then I'm gonna go through my fantasy books and then my romance books, and then we'll be done. Here we go. Let's start with the books that I bought, read, or am currently reading. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and one other book that I don't have here, so 7 books total. So the book that I'm currently reading is Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is the second book in the Maple Hills series. The first book is Icebreaker, which if you guys follow me on Instagram, you know Icebreaker is one of my favorite contemporary romance books ever. It is so spicy, and for me, the spicier the better, honestly. I just love a really good spicy romance novel. I really loved Icebreaker, and I was like, okay, Hannah Grace, they got me. I am gonna read Wildfire and Daydream, which I also have here in this pile. I want to read those 2 books next because I really loved Icebreaker. And so now that I'm reading Wildfire, it is way more slow burn than Icebreaker was. Wildfire, it is about Russ and Aurora. So Russ was mentioned in Icebreaker a couple of times. He was very quiet and like to himself in Icebreaker. So I was really surprised to learn that he was gonna have the second book. I honestly thought Henry was gonna have the second book, but he ended up having the third book. So I wasn't already excited to read Wildfire knowing that it was gonna be Russ. But because it was like a summer camp theme type of book, I really wanted to read it before the fall hit. It's cute, it's just not vibing for me right now. Like on the spicy level compared to Icebreaker, it's just not the same. If you have Wildfire on your TBR list and you want to read it because you read Icebreaker, just know that the energy is not the same in the 2. It's a very cute book, but it's so slow burn, and if you cannot stand slow burn, this book might take you a while to read, or you might be frustrated like I am right now. No knock to Hannah Grace. It is just my own preference of how I prefer romance books, and slow burn is just one of my least favorite romance like themes. That is where I'm at with Wildfire. The next book that I bought and read is Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. I do not have the physical book with me here today because I lent it to my friends, but I did finish reading this past week. Throne of the Fallen is actually one of the books that I randomly picked for my September TBR list this month. And I was a little scared to read it because it was a thick book and it made me nervous. I typically don't do well with world building in fantasy books because that is not a muscle in my brain that I am used to stretching a lot. I read a lot of romance normally, and so when it comes to fantasy, I struggle a little with world building stuff and understanding it and the reading comprehension. The plot overall was so juicy. Granted, I was lost for 72% of the book, but once everything started coming to light, boy did I pick up on it so fast. I love those kinds of books where you like come up with theories and they're always wrong. It's a little frustrating sometimes, but I feel like that makes the book suspenseful and that much more entertaining to read. That is Throne of the Fallen. I rated it 5 stars. I loved it so much, you guys. Love that book. The next book in my read pile here is Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the second book in the Powerless series. If you guys watched my, I can't remember if it was July or August reading vlog, you guys know how obsessed I was with Powerless. I really liked Reckless more than Powerless just because Reckless really moves Kai and Peyton's friendship / relationship forward in the story, but Powerless gives me all of that angst, that tension between the 2 of them and how much they hate each other, and I love that too. So they're not necessarily identical in theme to each other. Reckless was so much more tender and like sweet, especially where Kai and Peyton are involved. I can't say too much more beyond that because I feel like we're getting into spoiler territory there, but just know that this book is so much more romance than it is fantasy, and I love that, especially for someone who is a romance reader. The next book in my book stack is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I just finished reading this book yesterday. It is a dark romance. It is what I thought was a Peter Pan retelling, but according to Emily McIntyre, it is not a fantasy and it is not a retelling. It is a dark villain romance. I am not one to read dark romance a lot, so I'm not used to that style of writing. The other dark romance book that I can think of top of mind that I read recently is Twisted Love. Hooked it's just so, it's wow. I don't even know what to think about some of the other dark romances that some people read, like Haunting Adeline, but now that I've read Hooked and Twisted Love, I kind of feel a little bit more brave to like dabble in the dark romance and dark fantasy romance realm. Please leave your recommendations in the comments below because I am in that type of mood right now, especially as we jump into fall. The next book is Twisted Games by Anna Huang. This one is a princess bodyguard story. I really like this book way more than Twisted Love. Twisted Games was such a good book. It was very thick, like they just keep getting bigger and bigger, the Twisted series. I do have the two other books in the series in my stack here, so we'll go through that a little later. And then the final two books that I bought and read are Caraval and Legendary by Stephanie Garber. I did a buddy read with my friend and we loved it so much. And then I got Legendary from the same friend that I buddy read Caraval with. Between the two books, I like Caraval so much more. Stephanie Garber's writing is amazing, so descriptive, so immersive, so imaginative. I feel like Stephanie Garber's writing in Caraval really allowed me to stretch that side of my brain and helped me to imagine such a magical place. I also really liked Scarlett and Julian's relationship better than Donatella and every relationship that she has in this book. Anyway, so those were all the books that I bought and read so far from my huge birthday book haul. Now we're gonna jump into the fantasy books, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fantasy books that I haven't read yet. And the first book at the top here is Finale, the final book in the Caraval series. So there are 3 books in Caraval. There's Caraval, Legendary, and Finale. I haven't started this one yet. The next book that I have in my fantasy stack is Light Lark by Alex Astor. This book is kind of like Caraval because there's a game. In big letters here it says, to survive Isla Crown must lie, cheat, betray, even as love complicates everything. And those are the words that got me to buy this book. I am so excited to share with you these next 2 books because if you've been here for a while, you know that I have been trying to start Throne of Glass for quite some time now, but I am really nervous to start it because it is a lot of books and I just don't know if I can commit myself to that type of reading right now. But at some point throughout August, I finally felt brave enough to want to read the series at least, and I bought first Throne of Glass and then realized that I actually really want to read Assassin's Blade first. So that's where I'm at currently. I'm actually kind of feeling like reading Assassin's Blade next. So who knows, maybe in the next iteration of my reading vlog, I'll be reading The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. The next book is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is one of those books where I was really missing ACOTAR a lot, and a friend of mine recommended this series, and I'm excited to read it. I've been seeing a lot of people rating it on the Fable app and they are loving it. They're rating it pretty high too, so it is making me really excited to read it. If I don't get to it in September, I'm definitely gonna read it in October or November. This is my first Carissa Broadbent book, so I'm excited to, first of all, have a new author in my collection, but also to read another fantasy book. I think I said this at the beginning of the video, but this is the year where I get into fantasy, and I didn't know that was in the cards for me, but here we are. This next book I'm not quite sure why I bought it, except for the fact that I felt really bad that no one remembered her. And just by that description, you probably know what book I'm talking about. It is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This book has been on my TBR list for a little over a year now, and I finally went out and bought it because I was feeling pressured to buy more books before the month ended. But the thing that really pushed me over and made me want to read it is this line right here. It will be 300 years before she stumbles into a hidden bookstore and discovers someone who can remember her name, and suddenly everything changes again. That line just really piqued my interest and made me want to read this book. I have no idea what it's about except for she's forgotten and only this one person apparently remembers her. So yeah. The next book is Six of Crows. It seemed interesting. I really like that there's a diverse character group and they have to work together to do something if they don't kill each other first. It is part of my September TBR books that I need to read, but I'm not really feeling it right now, so I think I might push it over to October. Next we have Assistant to the Villain. On Goodreads it says that it's like a very popular book talk book, which I feel like every book nowadays is a very popular book talk book. But yeah, I'm very hopeful for this book because it seems funny, and I also really want to know what the whole deal is with it that makes it so popular on Book Talk. So we'll see. And then the final book in my fantasy series stack is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I am not sure why I bought this book right now. I could have done without buying it for at least another year. The second book isn't even out yet, so by the time I get to this book, hopefully the second book will be out, because this is a thick book, you guys, and I am nervous about it. This is one of my like true fantasy books. Like just the way that it reads on the back, it reads super fantasy. You know, knowing what I know about myself and world building, I don't know when I'm gonna get to it, but I do have it in my TBR list now, so that is that. Those are all the fantasy books that I bought in August. Now we're going to jump into all of my romance books. These are all of the romance books that I bought for my birthday. The first book at the top is a second-hand buy from a local bookstore on Kauai. It's called the Talk Story Bookstore. My family actually lives up the road from this bookstore, and I've been passing it for my entire life, and I've never gone in before, and this was the first time that I ever went in. And the owner is so nice and so kind, and her bookstore is all secondhand books, you guys. Like, she has a lot of vintage books too, and it was so cool. And I found this little nugget on the shelf. As you can see, it's a book of the month book. This one is called The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. I'm pretty sure this is very reminiscent of Parent Trap and The Princess Swap, the one with Vanessa Hudgens. It's the Christmas Princess Royal movie on Netflix. I'm kind of excited for it because I'm currently collecting books for my holiday TBR list, and this is the first book in my holiday TBR stack. The next book that I have is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is my first Abby Jimenez book. This is part of the Part of Your World series. I did see Part of Your World, which is the first book in the series, but I wasn't really like connecting with Part of Your World too much, not as much as I was with Yours Truly. I heard that a lot of Abby Jimenez's main male characters, they're very vulnerable in these stories, so I really like that, especially because I feel like it's not common in a lot of romance novels. Like, I feel like it's always the female that is very vulnerable and open, and very rare where the male is. And honestly, I'm not quite sure why I connected with this book a lot, because I have health anxiety, and this book is about two doctors, and one of the doctor's brothers needs a kidney transplant. So not quite sure how I'm gonna fare there. I may have a little anxiety reading this book because I do have anxiety from like health related things. And so yeah, I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna fare with reading this book, but I'm always up for a challenge and willing to give it a try. The next two books are part of the Twisted series. So I have Twisted Hate, and then I have Twisted Lies, which is the final book in the Twisted series. So Twisted Hate is about Jules and what's his name? Josh Chen, Ava Chen from Twisted Love, her brother and best friend, so brother's best friend romance trope. Jules, not my favorite character in the Twisted series. She is very, very annoying. So I'm not really that excited to read this book, but I am excited to read Twisted Lies. This book sounds so good, you guys. It is also the thickest book out of the entire Twisted series. I'm excited for this. This sounds so good and probably like the darkest of the entire Twisted series. Don't tell me, I don't want to know, but that's just what I'm guessing. So yeah, those are the two books that I have left to read in the Twisted series, and I'm excited to get to them, except for this one. Not excited to get to this one. The next book in my romance book stack I am so excited for, because if you watched my August reading vlog, you guys know that Jessica Joyce is my new favorite romance author, and I have here her second book, The Ex Vows. Actually, I don't even know if it's her second book. This is an estranged ex's second chance romance. I don't really fare well with second chance romances, but I've seen a couple of people that I follow on YouTube read this book and they are absolutely wild over it, like crying. And I cried a lot in You With A View, so I cannot wait to cry to this book. I can't believe I'm even saying that. I love a good book that makes you feel all of the emotions of a love story, and I'm really hoping this one does it for me, because if you guys read You With A View, you know that Theo, that man, is a book boyfriend for sure. That is that, The Ex Vows by Jessica Joyce. So excited to read this book. The next book I have is Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. This is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. So if you haven't read Dreamland Billionaires, it's about these three brothers who own Dreamland, which is very similar to Disney World and Disneyland, but you didn't hear that here. And they have to do some things in order to get their inheritance from their grandfather, who recently passed away. This is an employer-employee relationship, fake dating, and fake dating, they obviously fall in love. We'll see how this one goes whenever I decide to get to it, hopefully soon. The next book that I have is the third book in the Chestnut Springs series, and it is Powerless by Elsie Silver. You guys know Elsie Silver is queen of writing dialogue. I love the way she writes dialogue. Like, it is so sweet, so tender, so powerful. Like, it just makes it feel like you're there with them and you're besties with them. And I love that so much. This one is about Jasper, I think. Jasper is the friend of the Eaton boys. He kind of grew up with them, not necessarily adopted or fostered by them, but he just grew up as like really good friends with them. And this is a childhood friends to lovers story. It sounds like there's gonna be a lot of angst in it. Maybe it might take a long time, because it sounds like Jasper doesn't really like her or doesn't want to admit that he likes her. So I feel like this is gonna be a slow burn. I honestly just picked this up because I was in the cowboy romance mood. I really want to read the fifth book in the series, the one with Winter, because I've heard so many good things about that one. This is the second to the last book in this haul, you guys, so get ready. The next book that I have is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. I don't remember why I picked up this book. I've heard a lot of people say a lot of good things about this book. This is not part of the Dreamland Billionaire series, but it's a new series, the Lakefront Billionaires. So it sounds like there's like engineering, architecture, designers in this series. I'm not quite sure what this book is about, except for it's a Lakefront Billionaire series. So yeah, as you can tell, I didn't really make good choices or like smart choices when buying my romance books. Like, I just put them on my wish list and bought them because it was there. And then the final book in this book haul is Daydream by Hannah Grace. I talked about Wildfire at the top of this video, and I'm excited for this one because it is about Henry. Henry is one of my favorite characters from Icebreaker. I did hear that this book is the least spicy out of the two that are out currently. And that upsets me so much, because Hannah Grace just really set a tone when she made Icebreaker the way that it is. And now they're just getting less and less spicy, and I'm sad about it because she's such a good spicy romance novel writer. So I don't know how true that is, but I will have to read it to find out. I will need to finish reading Wildfire first before I get to this. I was excited for this until I heard that. This book is so beautiful. The purples and the blues and the pinks is such, it just complements each other and is so beautiful and dreamy, and I hope this book is beautiful and dreamy too. That is Daydream by Hannah Grace. That is it, you guys. Those are all of the books that I bought myself for my birthday. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about the different books that I bought. If you liked this birthday book haul, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. We'd love to have you as part of our community here. And yeah, let me know, have you read any of the books that I mentioned today? Without giving me spoilers, let me know if you liked it or not. I'm gonna end it here. Until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!